to stop President Obama's refugee resettlement program, Senator Jeff Sessions urged his colleagues to use the power of the purse to put an end to the 100,000 Middle East refugees slated to arrive by the end of next year. Speaking from the Senate well, Sessions referred to the dire warnings he heard from a U.S. Citizen and Immigration Service Union leader a year ago.
It is also essential to warn the public about the threat that ISIS will exploit our loose and lax visa policies to gain entry into the United States.
After that testimony, Sessions, along with GOP presidential candidate Ted Cruz, sent a letter to the Obama administration.
Senator Cruz and I sent the administration a list of 72 individuals charged or convicted of terrorism in just the last year around the country, 72 cases. We wanted to know something. We asked for the immigration histories of each one of these individuals. Isn't that a good thing to know?
Sessions said the White House has ignored his request even though these immigrants have ties to ISIS as well as Al-Qaeda.
The more effective and compassionate solution is to resettle the region's refugees in safe zones in the region rather than flying them into the United States. Each and every year, the United States issues green cards to roughly 1 million immigrants. They admit approximately, we do, 500,000 foreign students. On top of that, we distribute work visas to approximately 700,000 foreign workers.
With the added security threats and cost associated with resettling refugees, is America better served to work with our NATO partners and establish safe zones?
And San Diego 6 News contributor Kimberly Dvorak is here. You mentioned the cost, and this is an extremely expensive program.
Yeah, to put this in perspective, last year alone, the U.S. taxpayer footed the bill $1.1 billion with a B to take care of refugees. And if we kind of contrast that to the fact that we know that 50,000 of our veterans are homeless and are not receiving the care that they need. It's also raising questions as to the expense of bringing in refugees, because primarily they're unskilled, they don't speak the language, they don't write any language, and so they have to really be taken care of. And I think you're seeing a lot of groups out there, especially the veterans, are saying, look, we served our country and maybe we should do a better job of taking care of our veterans before immigrating.
The analogy is you don't invite the neighbors over for dinner if you can't feed your own kids.
We do,
like
though.
Okay, so I was taking a look at Senator Sessions' list, 72 people, as you mentioned, but what was it? Over 50 were American citizens, and half of them were born here. So don't you think we need to be looking at what we can do here in the United States right now to stop homegrown terrorism? Isn't that, it seems like a big issue that we're maybe not talking enough about right now.
And when you talk to law enforcement, this is the one thing that they're really worried about, because it's so difficult to get a profile, because you have to really follow where they're going to get the information. And with social media, as we know, it's very easy to reach out and use the propaganda and draw people in, which ISIS is very, very effective at. And if you look at that list, that's also how law enforcement actually found a lot of these people on the list. They were reaching out. Of these 72, the ones that were convicted, I mean, they're raising money and sending money to terrorists. They were plotting attacks here. They were disinfected youth where they didn't fit in. They couldn't get along with their peers. They don't. Their cultures are so different over there to here that it's difficult to fit in, and so they become easy targets for ISIS. And ISIS is very good at reaching out to those youths.
They find the loners.
Yeah,
so
they do.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for law enforcement. I mean, we talk about this often, but one of the biggest things is to remind people that if you see something that doesn't look right, say something. It seems like a simple little thing, but you never know who the next person is going to be out there. And when you talk to law enforcement, military, it's not a number or a matter of where or when. We don't know when the next attack's going to be. And they're referring to the terror cells in this country not in the hundreds but the thousands. So we all need to be very aware of our surroundings, and don't be afraid to get involved. Not get involved in the situation that you see as dangerous, but talk to the law enforcement. tell somebody this doesn't look right, and
Yeah.
that's the best offense,
Yeah.
for
Don't
us.
worry about hurting anyone's feelings. If you see
Just
something, say something. Don't take
Rather
any
safe than
chances.
sorry. We tell our kids
Right.
that all the time.
All right, Kimberly DeVarts,
Great.
thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. And you can read more from